This is Reporting the Revolutionary War Before It Was History, It Was News by Todd Andrlik. See if I can put it right there. So we'll see if it'll stay there. Anyway, I received this book from Todd's publisher, and it's Source Books Incorporated, and it was actually something that he had produced last year. And I've just been kind of flipping through it. It's a fantastic coffee table book, and I actually used some of it for sourcing on the book that I'm writing. It's not too late to get your wig on straight. So someday
soon,
someday it will be done.
You're going to bless your presence with that book, and we're going to go on book tours and get rich, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I still continue to enjoy this book, and I was kind of, I had sent him, I guess I sent him a note or an email or something like that. I hadn't heard from him. I kind of wanted to have him on the show. I was hoping I'd have him on this particular program, but I did find a contact in there for his publisher, or his publicist rather, and so maybe we can work through that way, work through those channels.
Can I go back to this one real quick? I'm sorry.
Sure, have at it.
I'll make it real quick. I just want to put a plug in for layman historians, this book, because when I found this book, I mean, what I absolutely love about this book, if you're someone who's tactile like I am, this is not just reading about history. Okay, this is why I've been wanting to get my hands on this book. What you're seeing here are photocopies of newspaper articles. These are articles from the time period, as in this guy dug up documentation this wasn't documentation about documentation. He dug up the documentation. There's news articles that go back during this time, so he shows the news article and then talks about that, and then brings up the documentation about that time, then talks about that. So
yeah, and even highlights it.
And I want to borrow this.
So you're not having to, you're not looking at it, because I don't know if many people have actually seen a newspaper from the era, but there's not a whole lot of photographs. In fact, there's not any photographs.
Right. Well, and I thought it was kind of one thing I learned from skimming, because you can go to Google books.google or whatever. And one thing I learned was that sometimes back then they didn't have the structure that they have now. So you could put a letter to your friend or a letter to your aunt, and the people who ran the stagecoach, they got bored, so they would read the letters, and sometimes those letters made it into the newspaper. So that's some of the things you see in there. And if somebody got particularly hostile, it's like, well, this would be good for the New York Times.
Yeah.